I've been obedient and well-behaved since I was little. Whatever Mom said, I did. She said my brother was sickly and I should give him all the good food. I nodded obediently. And stuffed expired pig feet I stole from the neighbors. Down his throat. Mom flew into a rage. Pointing at me, she yelled, "You're out of control. Why don't you just ride on my head and take a shit tomorrow? I'm a good child. I have to listen to Mom." Next morning, as soon as I woke up, I climbed onto her head and dropped a big one. So when her arch enemy offered to adopt me, she sent me off with drums beating and firecrackers popping, not forgetting to curse me one last time. "You little plague, don't ever come back. Go plague their family." Instead, I listened obediently, clutching all the money and bank cards she and Dad had hidden in the cabinet. As I got in the car, no matter how much she cried and wailed behind the car, I never looked back once. "Lily, don't be nervous. From now on, you're my child. I promise I'll love you properly from now on." Mrs. Song sat beside me, gently brushing my bangs that Mom had cut all uneven. She reached out to softly stroke my rough little hands. But when her eyes caught the old scars from the sickle on the back of my hand, a flicker of heartache and sympathy appeared in her eyes. The stone-faced man driving glanced at us through the rearview mirror. He spoke coldly, "The adoption papers are done, Sarah. You're her mother now. Stop calling yourself Mrs." The man seemed to dislike me. His gaze on me was cold. But when he looked at Mrs. Song, his eyes held a tenderness I'd never seen before. I clutched the money and bank cards in my hands. Nodding obediently, I told her, "Mrs. Song, my mom said children should listen to their mothers. You're my mom now, so I'll listen to you. I won't be nervous." The smile on Mrs. Song's face clearly deepened after I said this. She hugged me lovingly, calling me her sweet daughter over and over. New Mom's embrace was warm and she smelled nice. For once, I blushed with shyness. Soon we arrived at my new parents' home. Once home, New Mom rushed to the kitchen, saying she wanted to make me something delicious. Your dad's face remained cold seeing her go to the kitchen. He reminded me coldly, "If Sarah didn't like you so much, I wouldn't let a wild child into our home. But since you're living here now, I must remind you, your biggest purpose in this family is to please Sarah. Don't make her sad or upset. Otherwise, I can send you back anytime." His voice was deep and cold, with no emotion in his eyes as he looked at me. I wasn't afraid at all, mimicking my previous dad's cocky posture. I asked him, "What's in it for me if I listen to you?" New Dad seemed very displeased with my gesture, a flash of disgust crossing his eyes. "What do you want? Money or food?" Frowned, asking seriously, "If I listen to you, will you feed me also? You can't hit me or yell at me. Only then will I listen to you." Before, when Dad beat my mom, she couldn't find anyone to take it out on. She liked to beat me while calling me a plague, worthless goods. But I didn't accept it. Why was I always the one getting beaten? So when she beat me, I'd ride on my fat pig brother, beat him until we both cried for mercy together. Though this was fair, the stick still hurt when it hit me. Now hearing my request, New Dad's handsome face showed a flicker of imperceptible surprise. After a moment of silence, he nodded slightly. "As long as you behave, I won't hit you or yell at you." The new home was nice. I didn't have to sleep with stinky pigs anymore. New Mom prepared a pink room for me. Inside were a big bed I'd never seen before, a desk and all kinds of pretty dresses, shoes and backpacks. "Lily, do you like this room? If not, Mom can have someone redecorate it for you." New Mom squatted down, meeting my eyes at the same level, asking softly, "My mom used to say beggars can't be choosy about stale food." I nodded, "I like it very much. Thank you, Mom." My answer made New Mom very happy. She smiled and I smiled too. But soon worry appeared on Mom's face because her son came home. His name was Marcus Song, 5 years older than me. The first time he saw me, his eyes held obvious disgust. "You're the kid Mom brought home?" "Yeah, so what?" He seemed surprised. I'd question him back without fear. And for 2 seconds, the disgust on his face deepened. He said coldly, "Don't think living in the Song house makes you a real Song family. Princess, I advise you to know your place. Don't covet what you shouldn't." Before I could say anything, Mom walked over with disapproval on her face. "Marcus, Lily is your sister. How can you talk like that?" When Mom appeared, the coldness in Marcus's eyes softened a bit. He said nothing more, just snorted and went back to his room. Mom gently patted my head, comforting me. "Lily, don't be scared. Marcus just isn't used to you being here yet. It'll be fine once he gets used to it." I grinned stupidly and nodded, "Whatever. As long as he wasn't like my fat pig brother, always looking for trouble. Let him be." Once settled, Mom took me to change my name from Dummy Turner to Lily Song. She said it was to wish me peace and success for the rest of my life. Not only that she enrolled me in the city's best elementary school, but my desk mate was a chatterbox, always asking why I was as black as coal, why I had so many scars on my hands. Seeing the confusion in his eyes, I got playful and said fiercely, because I met human traffickers. They made me like this. And traffickers love talkative idiots like you the most. If you keep bothering me, I'll have them take you. Before I could finish, his curiosity shattered, and he started crying loudly. I don't want to be taken by traffickers. I don't want to become cold like you. His crying was so loud. It quickly drew the attention of other classmates. Students craned their necks to look at us, muttering, Lily's song is so dark. She looks dirty. My mom says dirty people have lots of germs. Does she have them, too? I smelled it too. Just now. She stinks. I don't want to sit with her. They were too young to hide their thoughts. Disgust and disdain written on their faces, as if I really had something dirty on me. They all covered their noses and backed away. When the girls spoke up, the boys couldn't sit still. They marched over aggressively kicking my desk while shouting, Hey beggar, can't you see everyone hates you? Go sit in the back row. I put down my pen and looked straight at him. This morning when Mom dropped me off at school, she said, we don't look for trouble, but we're not afraid of it either. If someone bullies me, I must fight back. I didn't move. The chubby boy wouldn't give up. Using all his strength to pull my new back from my desk, with a casual toss, he threw it straight into the trash can in the corner. Beggar, get to the back or else I won't be nice to. Before he could finish, I had already run to the corner and pulled my backpack out. The dirty trash can ended up on his head. The chubby boy screamed from the stench, while others showed fear and shock in their eyes. But I smiled sweetly, pretending to be innocent. Teacher said, a class is a collective. If you say I stink, then we should all stink together. After all, we're united and loving classmates. I grabbed another trash can, not minding at all, pulled out the garbage inside and accurately flung it at the onlookers. Suddenly, the quiet classroom erupted with various sounds, crying, screaming and begging for forgiveness. Our classroom was right next to the bathroom. Taking advantage of the chaos, I ran out the back door. Soon I came back with a mop covered in shit. I swung the mop like a battle axe. It hit the blackboard with a wet, heavy smack, splattering brown droplets across the daily schedule. The screaming hit a pitch that could shatter glass. The chubby boy who had thrown my bag was backed into a corner, clutching his stomach and sobbing, a fresh brown streak across his pristine white uniform. I didn't stop. Mom said if I was going to do something, I should do it properly. I was just winding up for a second swing when the classroom door banged open. What is going on here? The homeroom teacher shrieked. Her eyes bulged as she took in the overturned desks, the crying children, the garbage, and me, standing in the center like a victorious warlord wielding a shit-covered mop. Instantly, my feral instincts kicked in. I remembered the deal with my new dad. Don't upset Sarah. Getting expelled on the first day might upset Sarah. I dropped the mop. It hit the floor with a sickening squelch. I blinked hard, summoning the memory of the time my biomom didn't feed me for 2 days. Tears welled up in my eyes thick and fast. I collapsed to my knees, wrapping my arms around myself, and began to wail, trembling like a frightened rabbit. Teacher. I sobbed, my voice trembling perfectly. They said I was dirty. They threw my new bag, the one my mom gave me, into the trash. They said I was a beggar, and tried to hit me. The teacher froze. The chubby boy pointed a shaking, soiled finger at me. She brought poop into the classroom. I cried louder, burying my face in my hands. I was trying to clean the bathroom, so they wouldn't call me dirty anymore, but they attacked me, and the mop fell. I'm so sorry, teacher. I just want to be clean. 10 minutes later, the principal's office was a war zone. The parents of the chubby boy had arrived. His mother was a woman draped in cheap pearls who immediately started screaming for my expulsion. I sat quietly in the corner, staring at the floor, clutching my rescued, slightly dented pink backpack to my chest. Then the heavy mahogany door clicked open. Sarah, a new mom, walked in. Behind her was Mr. Song. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Mr. Song wore a tailored charcoal suit, his face an impenetrable mask of cold authority. Who, Sarah said, her voice dangerously soft, bullied my daughter? The chubby boy's mother puffed up her chest. Your wild child assaulted my son. She should be in a reform school, not here. Look at him. He's traumatized. Sarah didn't even look at the woman. She walked straight to me, kneeling down. Despite her expensive silk skirt touching the floor, she gently pulled my hands away from my face. Lily, did you start this? No, I sniffled, looking into her warm eyes. He threw the bag you gave me in the trash. He called me a beggar. You told me we don't look for trouble, but we aren't afraid of it. I fought back, Mom, just like you said. Sarah stood up. She turned to the principal, her eyes blazing with a maternal fury I had only ever seen on TV. You allowed a group of boys to gang up on a little girl on her first day? And you have the audacity to call us here as if she is the problem? while Sarah tore the principal and the other mother to shreds with polite, venomous society words. I felt a gaze on me. I looked up. Mr. Song was watching me. He looked at my tear-stained face, then down at my knuckles, which weren't trembling at all. He looked at the perfectly intact pink backpack. Then the corner of his mouth twitched. It was barely there, just a microscopic upward curve, but I saw it. He stepped forward, placing a hand on Sarah's shoulder to calm her. He looked at the chubby boy's mother. My lawyer will be in touch regarding the emotional distress caused to my daughter. Furthermore, I am withdrawing the Song Corporation's funding for the new science wing. The principal choked on his spit. Mr. Song, please, let's be reasonable. I am perfectly reasonable, Mr. Song said coldly. My daughter was defending herself. Let's go, Sarah. Lily. I stood up obediently, grabbed my bag and followed them out. As we got into the Maybach, Mr. Song looked at me through the rearview mirror. A mop? He asked quietly. It had reach, I replied honestly, and psychological impact. They won't touch my desk again. Sarah gasped. Oh, my poor baby, you must have been so scared. Mr. Song just kept looking at me in the mirror. You didn't upset Sarah, he noted, his voice low. She isn't sad. She is angry at them. You kept your end of the deal. I told you, I said, buckling my seatbelt. I'm a good child. I listened to the rules. From that day on, the coldness in Mr. Song's eyes when he looked at me disappeared. It was replaced by something else. A quiet, terrifying approval. By the time I was 14, the Song household had found its rhythm. I was no longer the skinny, coal-black feral child. Good food, vitamins, and Sarah's relentless pampering had transformed me. But underneath the expensive dresses and polite smiles, I was still the girl who fed her brother expired pig feet. Marcus, now 19 and in his first year of college, still kept his distance. He didn't hate me anymore, but he watched me like one watches an unexploded bomb. One rainy Friday evening, Marcus came home with a bruised cheek and a split lip. Sarah was at a charity gala, and Dad was overseas on business. I was sitting on the living room sofa, reading a book on anatomy. I looked up as Marcus slammed the front door, swearing under his breath. You're leaking, I observed, pointing at his lip. He glared at me, tossing his wet jacket onto a chair. Mind your business, Wildcat. Someone hit you, I said, closing my book. Who? Nobody. Just some guys from the university. A turf dispute over the new tech startup incubator. Trent Miller and his frat buddies jumped me in the parking lot. He winced as he touched his jaw. Don't tell Mom. She'll worry. I didn't say anything. I just nodded obediently. I won't tell Mom. The next day, Marcus was asleep in his room. I put on my raincoat, packed my backpack, and took a bus to the university campus. I had spent enough time listening to Marcus complain at the dinner table to know who Trent Miller was. He drove a flashy red sports car and hung out at the campus coffee shop. I found the car easily. I also found Trent, laughing with 3 other guys on the patio, flexing a bruised knuckle. I didn't have a mop this time, but I had something better. I had learned a lot about chemistry recently. I walked around to the back of Trent's red sports car. I took out a small jar of a very special paste I had made, a mixture of high-grade industrial adhesive and finely crushed rotting shrimp heads, a trick I learned from the slums. I carefully applied it deep inside the air conditioning vents under the windshield wipers. Then I took a small, sharp nail and wedged it perfectly against the valve stem of his back right tire, just enough to cause a slow, agonizing blowout at high speed. Finally, I walked right up to the coffee shop patio. I was 14, wearing a pristine white dress, looking completely harmless. Excuse me, I said, my voice sweet and high. Trent looked down at me, frowning. What do you want, kid? Are you Trent? Yeah. Who's asking? Without breaking eye contact, I picked up his scalding hot black coffee from the table and poured it directly onto his lap. Trent shrieked, jumping up, knocking over his chair as he clawed at his pants. His friends yelled, lunging forward. I took a step back, my face deadpan. My brother is Marcus Song. My mom says we don't look for trouble, but we aren't afraid of it. If you touch him again, I won't use coffee. I'll use battery acid. Have a nice day. I turned and ran. I was fast, honed by years of outrunning my biomom switch in the dirt yards of my old village. By the time they recovered from the shock, I was a ghost. That night at dinner, Marcus looked at his phone, his eyes wide. He looked up at me. I was quietly chewing my broccoli. Trent Miller, Marcus whispered, leaning across the table so the maids wouldn't hear. He got third-degree burns on his thighs, and his car crashed into a ditch on his way to the hospital because his tire blew out, and the interior of his car smells like a dead body. I swallowed my broccoli and dabbed my mouth with a napkin. That's unfortunate. Life is full of accidents. Marcus stared at me for a long, quiet moment. The disgust and suspicion he had harbored for years completely evaporated. A slow, slightly unhinged grin spread across his bruised face. "You're a psycho," he whispered affectionately. "I'm your sister," I corrected him. He reached over and ruffled my hair, ruining the bangs Mom had styled. "Yeah, you are." I was 18 when my past caught up with me. I was officially Lily Song, the brilliant, slightly eccentric heir to the Song Corporation. Dad had taken me under his wing, recognizing that my lack of conventional morality made me an excellent corporate strategist. Mom still treated me like a delicate flower, and Marcus treated me like a mafia underboss. I was happy. Then she showed up. I was walking out of my private high school when I saw her. My biological mother. She looked older, haggard, her hair greasy and her clothes worn. Beside her was my biological brother, no longer a fat pig, but a bloated, greasy young man with mean eyes. When she saw me, her eyes lit up with a mix of terrifying greed and rage. "You little bitch," she screamed, lunging past the security guards. "I found you." I stopped on the steps. My bodyguard, a massive man named Chun, stepped in front of me, his hand resting near his blazer pocket. "Hold on, Chun," I said softly. My bio mom pointed a shaking finger at me. "You stole everything. The money, the bank cards. You ruined us. And now you're parading around like a rich princess? I gave birth to you. I can destroy you. You're coming with me, or I'm going to the press to tell them the Song family stole my daughter." She was loud. Students were staring. Cell phones were coming out. I didn't feel fear. I felt a cold, calculating calm. I looked at the woman who used to beat me until I couldn't breathe. I looked at the brother I used to ride like a mule. "I don't know who you are," I said, my voice carrying clearly over the courtyard. I tilted my head, looking perfectly innocent. "Are you confused? Should I call an ambulance for you?" "Don't play dumb," my bio brother snarled, stepping forward. "You owe us, Lily. Give us 10 million, or we'll ruin your fake mom's reputation." Fake mom. Ruin Sarah's reputation. A switch flipped inside my brain. The same switch that made me pick up the mop. The same switch that made me pour boiling coffee. "You could hit me. You could insult me. But you do not threaten Sarah." I smiled. It was the smile that always made Marcus lock his bedroom door at night. 10 million. I asked softly. "Is that all?" My bio mom hesitated, confused by my sudden compliance. "Why yes. 10 million and we leave you alone." "Okay," I said obediently. "But I don't have that kind of money on me. Follow my car. We'll go to a private place to discuss the transfer. We don't want the police involved, do we?" Greed overrode her common sense. She nodded eagerly. I got into the Maybach. Chun looked at me through the rearview mirror. "Miss Lily, where to?" "The old warehouse district by the docks, Chun. Call Dad. Tell him I need the cleanup crew." The warehouse was dark, smelling of rust and salt water. The massive metal doors slammed shut behind my bio mom and her son. They looked around suddenly, realizing this didn't look like a bank. Mr. Song stepped out of the shadows. He wasn't wearing a suit today. He was wearing a dark trench coat, his eyes cold and flat. My bio mom froze. Who are you?" "I am the man who bought your daughter," Dad said smoothly, lighting a cigarette. "Though bought is a strong word. She was a gift you threw away. But now you come to my city, threatening my wife, trying to extort my family." "As she stole our money," the woman shrieked, pointing at me. I was sitting comfortably on a wooden crate, filing my nails. "Mom said whatever is in the house belongs to the family," I recited innocently. "I was just taking my inheritance early." My bio brother sneered, pulling a rusty pocket knife from his jeans. "Listen, rich guy, give us the money, or I'll carve up your little adopted freak right now." He lunged toward me. Dad didn't even flinch. Chin didn't move. I stood up as my bio brother rushed me, expecting the terrified little girl. From the village, I stepped slightly to the left. I grabbed his wrist with both hands, twisted my hips, and used his own momentum to slam him face first into the concrete floor. Before he could scream, I brought my heavy leather boot down, directly on his kneecap. A sickening crack echoed through the warehouse. He shrieked, dropping the knife and clutching his ruined leg, thrashing like a dying fish. My bio mom screamed, falling to her knees. "My son, what have you done to my son?" I picked up the pocket knife, testing its edge with my thumb. I walked over to her, squatting down so we were eye to eye, just like Sarah had done for me years ago. "You told me," I whispered, my voice devoid of any emotion, "that I was a plague. You told me to go plague their family. But they didn't treat me like a plague. They treated me like a person. You broke your end of the deal. You came back She was sobbing, staring at me in absolute terror. She finally realized I wasn't her punching bag anymore. I was a monster she had created, polished by unlimited wealth and power. Please, she begged. Lily, please. Don't call me Lily, I said. Lily is Sarah's daughter. You can call me a plague. I stood up and looked at Dad. They threatened Mom. And they tried to stab me. Dad exhaled a cloud of smoke. He pulled a thick manila folder from his coat and tossed it onto the concrete next to my crying mother. In that folder, Dad said coldly, is evidence of 15 years of tax fraud, illegal gambling rings, and extortion linked to your husband back in your hometown. My lawyers filed it with the provincial police 20 minutes ago. By the time you get back, your husband will be in prison. Your assets will be frozen. You will have absolutely nothing. He took a drag of his cigarette. If I ever see your faces in this city again, I won't use lawyers. I'll let my daughter handle it. I smiled sweetly and waved the knife. They scrambled backward, hauling the crying, limping brother toward the exit. They didn't look back. They ran like demons were chasing them. Once the doors closed, silence fell over the warehouse. Dad walked over to me. He gently took the rusty knife from my hand and dropped it into a nearby trash can. He pulled a pristine white handkerchief from his pocket and wiped the dust off my hands. Are you hurt? He asked. No, Dad. I listened to your rules. I didn't get my clothes dirty. He chuckled. A real deep sound. He put his arm around my shoulder, guiding me toward the car. Good girl. Let's go home. Sarah is making dumplings. Years later, the Song family sat around the massive dining table. Sarah's hair had a few gray streaks, but she was smiling radiantly, placing a massive bowl of handmade dumplings in the center of the table. Dad was pouring wine for Marcus, who had just been named CEO of the family's tech division. I sat beside Sarah, wearing a tailored designer suit, my hair cut in a sharp, elegant bob. I was the head of Song Corporation's legal and acquisitions department. My reputation in the corporate world was notorious. Lily Song, the smiling guillotine. I was known for being ruthlessly polite right up until I completely dismantled a rival company. Lily, sweetie, Sarah said, piling dumplings onto my plate. Eat up. You work too hard. I swear, you and your father are obsessed with that office. I'm just making sure no one bothers our family, Mom, I said, picking up my chopsticks. Marcus snorted. Bother us? The last guy who tried to hostile take over our supply chain mysteriously ended up audited by the government, and his yacht sank. I wonder who arranged that. He looked directly at me. I chewed my dumpling slowly. The ocean is a dangerous place. Dad raised his glass, looking across the table. His eyes met mine. There was no coldness left, only absolute, unbreakable trust. We understood each other perfectly. We were the wolves that guarded the door so Sarah could sleep peacefully. To family, Dad said. To family, Marcus agreed. I clinked my glass against theirs. I looked at the beautiful room, the warm food, the people who loved me, and the lack of pigsties and bruises. I was obedient when I was little. Whatever Mom said, I did. She told me to plague their family. Instead, I became their fiercest protector. I guess for the first time in my life, I failed to follow my biological mother's orders. But as I looked at Sarah smiling at me, I realized something. I am a good child. I just found a better mom to listen to.